Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another great episode. Back here on the mic. Feels good. Hope you're doing amazing and in good health and good spirits. My name is Alejandro Salamone. If you are new to the podcast or the channel, welcome. If you are a returning listener, welcome back slash viewer. I am very happy to be here and excited for today's topic since I feel like I've been wanting to do this for a bit now to just share a little bit about some of these things that I have been experiencing, and perhaps this is something that you've been going through yourself, but it's all coming from the place of sharing. So again, I'm not a guru. I don't carry all the answers. I don't carry the right answers for that matter. This is simply here for me to share with you some things I've experienced and in which I believe can be helpful. And take whatever feels good for you, whatever resonates. And then what does not, just let it be. Let it be, and it's all good. So when it comes to this, I first want to acknowledge something important, because I think it's important to say this. Everything that I'm about to share with you today, it's something that it has taken me some time to be able to come out with this. It's a mixture between I don't know if scared is the right word that I want to use, but definitely worried about, what are others going to think, especially the people who know me, my friends, my family, and community, etc. So it's been a very healing process, excuse me, because it's about acceptance, right? Ultimately, it has come down to that. It's me accepting myself, regardless of anybody, what anyone is going to think or anything like this, but just to honor my experience, honor my truth, honor my message. And people are going to judge. People are going to have their own excuses, or their own ideas and judgment, right? And that's okay. I say this because I feel like I've talked to a lot of people over the years who have been in this situation as well. And perhaps you are one of these individuals as well, where you are or are experiencing things in your life that it's kind of hard to talk about, or you keep it to yourself, or you want to talk about it, but you don't feel comfortable, or you don't feel like you have the right crowd, the right people to talk about it. So I just want to share this with you, because if you are one of these individuals, I just want to share with you that I understand. I get it. And it's something that I just want to speak on, because it does take bravery. It does take a lot to come out and share these types of things with people. On the other side of all of this, right, there's a couple of things that encouraged me to do this. One and foremost and most importantly is the fact that it's gonna help. It can help people, right? It can help people even from the sense of just simply encouraging people to share, right? Or encouraging people to explore these things that perhaps you may be experiencing yourself, or to explore the idea of accepting it. And ultimately, it comes down to us accepting ourselves, because we are all different. And that idea of the difference is it varies, right? It can be different in so many ways, not just in the simple ways, but also in very complex ways as well. And so everything is related to this, and everything is that I'm going to share is just based on my own experience, on what I've experienced, what has come through for me, what continues to be alive within myself. And as always, I'm just a student. I'm a student. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a master, I'm not any of these things. I'm just a student here to learn. And I believe that's what we are all here. We're here to learn. We can learn from each other. We can learn, um, from things that happen in our lives and from life in general. But we're here to learn. And I believe and feel the importance that when it comes to this era that we're in, the importance of coming together to help each other on this path, and finding that to be really, really important, really um, uh, pinnacle in this moment. So, with all of that being said, I'll just get right into it, right? And before I do, I want to share a little bit around also what got me here, because I share there's many layers to this as well, as far as like the sharing. One of the things also that the reason why I'm sharing is because it's gone to the point in my path, right, of growth. Um, I don't even like the term spiritual growth or spiritual path, because everyone has different meanings when it comes to this, and I don't want to put this in any bucket. But for me, it's that it is the idea of spiritual, my spiritual path, spiritual being my connection with myself, with source consciousness, the divine, whatever you believe, God. It doesn't matter what you call it, but it's just your connection to something greater than just this realm here, and also within yourself. And the reason why I call this spiritual path for me is because that experience has been, from in my definition, a very spiritual experience, and it continues to be so. And it's not just butterflies and rainbows. It's not just all joy and all the beauty and all these things that sometimes people think that it is. There's been a lot of shadow work, and there continues to be very intense processes in my life, things that are very intense, things that are very unpleasant. But all of it, sorry, I have a incense and it's choking me. But all of it is very important, because it's part of it. It's what I'm learning, and what I've learned is that I've learned and I'm learning, right? Because I've never I also feel like there's no destination. It's just the path. It's a Imagine going on a hike around the world, if you can, or a journey around the world. Perhaps it would be a better, right, better example. You're going to come across various different terrains. You're going to come across various different types of animals, very different types of experiences and people, and etc. And how you do it, right? Whether you do a straight path, or if you start here and then you make a left, and then you go up, but then you go left again, and then you go straight. You know, there are so many ways to go, quote unquote, like this, with this analogy of going around the world. Um, and it takes time, and it's different for everyone. So, uh, yeah. So with all that being said, it for me, it has been something that it's been coming for me. I would say for the past at least 3 to 4 years, has been nudging at me. Hey, share. Hey, you need to share. Hey, you need to share. And I was like, no. Hey, you need to step more into your purpose. Hey, you need to um, share these experiences. And I would fight it. I would fight it hard, really, really hard, because again, there was that fear, the fear of judgment, and the fear of stepping into these experiences, into that space, where you are putting it out there into the world, and it's extremely vulnerable. And so as time continued, as time went on, this got more and more intense. The nudge, became a louder voice, if you will, of like, hey, you need to, it's time, it's time, it's time. And it started to get to the point where if I would not do it in a situation, for example, where maybe it's not around like this, where I'm in front of a camera, but speaking speaking up in a group setting, or saying something to somebody, it got to the point, right, where if I would not do it, it became so intense that I had to, right? Because it wouldn't, if I could not keep growing in my spiritual path if I did not listen, if I did not acknowledge that this is something that was coming through for me in my channel, which I enjoy my channel, I love my channel, which I'm going to talk to you about here in a little bit. But this was coming through, and it's also important to respect that and to honor that, because oftentimes it's not even about me, right? And that's what really hit me. It's like, bro, this is not even about you. You're making it about you, and it's part of the process, right? It's part of you accepting and letting go of what people are going to think and all these things, and just understanding that it's not about you, that these things are meant to be shared, are meant to be delivered, are meant to be broadcast, are meant to be put out there, that it doesn't matter who is going to receive it or not. It's not about that, but it's about the ones who are waiting to receive it. And also what that does on an energetic level, right? Vibration of the voice, as you are listening to me, as I am speaking in this moment, recording into this microphone, into this platform, is energy. And when we record something like this and we're able to play it back, or we're able to put it out there, right? It's as if I'm there with you right now. And as you're listening to me, that this vibration of my voice that's coming through, it's the vibration of the information, right? That's coming through, that carries a frequency that goes into your subconscious mind, that affects you on a cellular, on a DNA level. And this is just, we're starting to understand this more in science, right? There's more and more, excuse me, research that's backing this up nowadays, around how the idea of like frequency and vibration and energy is measurable. Like if you hear, like, if, for instance, uh, like a frog, right, doing the I can't do it, but the voice, the noise they make, and if they happen to be on the water, on the pond, if you look at the ripples of the water, I might have to do something about this insect, because it's literally choking me out. um, but if you look at the incense, right, at the incense, at the ripples of the water, you'll see that that the vibration of it, right, is very particular. It's very interesting. It's very different. And there's a lot also that science is learning. We are learning through science, right? And the idea of science is, it's understanding consciousness, or understanding the universe, understanding energy through the conscious mind, right? Because the conscious mind is very three-dimensional. In other words, uh, if you think about it, uh, for instance, we know that there's a conscious and a subconscious mind, or the idea of this, the expression of this. And what does that mean? Simply put, what this means, right, is when when it comes to the programming, your day-to-day things, your simple tasks, uh, in this life, on your day-to-day life, that you're doing consciously, right? It's your motor skills, is your very much everything that involves here, the simplicity of here, even driving, all of this is your conscious mind, right? It's things that you have learned here on this planet, while you've been on this planet, consciously, right? At the same time, when we talk about the subconscious, it refers to also things that have happened in your life, with the idea of time and space. Let's say on this life, right? Let's just entertain this for a moment. Um, as your brain was developing, right? That's where the subconscious and the conscious mind there's this um, dance, if you will, right? Because when you came here, when you came out of your mother's womb, right? I mean, we know like the baby's, it looks like a football, a baby's head, right? It's very flexible. The skull, everything is still developing. The brain is still developing and all these things, but the subconscious is there. And um, that's the idea of where the spirit or the soul lives. So everything that I'm going to be sharing with you, everything that I'm speaking to in all my podcasts, all those messages have come through, and all the content that I've recorded on here is through the channel, my channel. And everything that's coming through, you may be consciously hearing what I'm saying, but there is another there's codes within the vibration of what I'm speaking, because how I'm expressing these things, it's going into the subconscious. It's like a little seed, right? And this is just a new way to help humanity, that it can be um, looked at, and how this has done, unfortunately, in a bad way, or not to label good or bad, but perhaps in where we have seen this. And some examples of this that we have seen it is, for instance, with religion, right? And how certain scriptures and certain messages around religion activate certain feelings and sensations for people and belief systems. The same thing can be looked at on a political aspect from Hitler, from Nazi Germany, and all of these dictators, right? Who through their speech, through their words, they were able to conquer or have people following them, and encourage and influence people. It wasn't so much about like what he was saying, but it was more around the frequency he was tapping into, that it was going into people's subconscious mind. So that's what I'm talking about here. This technology, because it is a technology that it's available to all of us, right? It has existed and it exists. And this is how I can best explain to you my channel. And the idea of calling it a channel, it's simply a tuning that happens within myself, where I feel myself opening up into a different space while I'm very much here, but everything that's coming through, it doesn't feel like I'm thinking about it, right? It's just information that's coming through. And there is sometimes like pauses, or if I look to the side, that's very much what I do. Like if I go here or if I go here, it's because I have to step away for a moment from this direct interaction, if you will, and allow all that information that's coming through to get kind of like translated, because a lot of it comes through, but I don't always feel it as this overwhelming expression, but rather as like, okay, all this is coming through, and then it's like, okay, it's not for me to decide. I wait, and then it just kind of like the words come through, and then I deliver. Hopefully that made sense. But that's pretty much what this is going to be about. Everything I'm going to be sharing, it's my experience, but also it's through the channel. And this is also the first time I think I've ever really talked about my channel in this way. And I will do an episode strictly on that. And we all have a channel, uh, believe it or not. We do. We all have the capacity, I should say. We all have the capacity to connect to our channel. And the way I understand it, the way I understand it, and uh, have learned through my own experience and what has come through, is that the more you connect with your soul, the more you connect with yourself, with your spirit, then the more that this idea of a channel starts to open, right? It starts to you start to tap more into your subconscious. You are engaging more with your subconscious mind, and this um, comes with also the ideas of tapping into previous lives, right? Memories. One of One of these individuals, for example, is Matias de Stefano. If you have not heard of him, I highly recommend looking him up. But he's able to remember. He's able to have memories from previous lives. I'm not sure how many exactly, but he's able to remember quite a bit back. And based on his memory and based on things that he's lived, right, he brings information of things that he learned back then and throughout life. So there's that aspect as well. That is this type of energy can be accessed through the subconscious mind. And so that's what happens. That's what's happening with myself is as I connect more with myself, with my spirit, with my soul, then the more I'm tapping into this into these my subconscious, right? Because I'm experiencing. See, okay, let me put it one more another way that I think will also be a good way to share this is if you think about this, like the idea I say my soul, right? Um, as if like yes, it's mine, but I'm not saying like I am my soul. Uh, I am my soul, right? But this is the thing, right? This is the reason why we are not able to remember when we come into this life, right? Right away, or with the idea that we quote unquote forget. hmm And because, as I explained earlier, that process of the subconscious as we get older and the development of the brain, right, is where the brain is focused on survival. So that is what its main focus is on while you're here. When you come onto this earth, especially between the ages of 4 and 13, are very important ages when it comes to the development of the brain. And also, this is where your ego is created, which in other words means just you're learning how to survive, what's safe, what's not, and all these things, right? So that part of it, it's very, it's the idea of survival, it's the physical survival, right? The animal, the Homo sapien in us, that is takes priority. But if you look at kids, babies specifically, um, like infants or very, very super young toddlers, you see like how they look, how they stare at people, or maybe they stare at you and they're just looking around, and maybe you're wondering, man, like what are they staring at? Have you ever wondered? Because it's like they're seeing something that you are not. And of course, we can go here about so many on so many things that they could be seeing, right? But what I'm going to share with you, again, this is just my perspective and what I've can can bring in through the channel is that what babies see, what we see, is the idea of we talk about this like the veil, right? There is no veil when we come pure as humans onto this earth. There's no veil. Everything is seen. You can see everything. That's why babies are very, very sensitive as well, right? Um, and so that is important to express this because this means that we all come already seeing things beyond this dimension. But we then become limited to experiencing, everything that we see here, um, due to the programming or how the brain learns, right? The conscious mind learns how to adjust itself, right, to this environment. So within all of this, uh, we are also now like new babies that are coming in. The 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 vibration, the energy of humanity is changing. Consciousness is changing on a global scale. And so babies are coming here onto this earth with a different calibration than we, people like myself who were born in, I was born in 1989. So in late 80s to early 90s, and then our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation, right? So we can see it even within ourselves, right? We can see the difference. We can see the difference even in kids nowadays, like young kids. I can see the difference. I have nieces and nephews, and I see how different they are, right? And again, this is a combination not only of what's their environment, right? And as we evolve from our parents and so on and so forth, but there's also a collective, and there's also uh, the energy that's being on this earth, that's that's roaming around as well. So, and all of this, it's to say that this is this is very much of a subconscious, going to be a subconscious interaction, and there's no, see, like another way to explain this, like the conscious mind is always thinking about, like, that's why I compared it with science, right? Because it's about logic, because survival is logic. Yeah, right. There's instinct as well, and that's where the subconscious comes in, right? So there's like the idea of like animal instinct and all these things, right, that we talk about. But we have instinct, or we call it gut feeling, we call it all these other things, right? All these names. But we have instinct. So there's the logic of the idea of building shelter, right? The idea of like eating food, the idea of like connecting with the body, of feeling temperature, feeling like if we're ill or if we're tired, and all these things is very logic. It's very conscious. And so science is very much in this way. It's about, oh, how can we prove it, right? It's about math and all these things. And I'm not putting down science. I love science. I respect it. But this is going to be a combination. I'm going to be bringing things up here that are supported by science, of the channeled messages that are coming through for me, that come from the subconscious, that are based on memories, are based on information, right? That I'm able to tap into, to connect with, that is available to all of us. And that's what I want to be clear. I'm not some special person or this and that. We all have this ability. We are all capable of tapping into this. And some of us are able to tap into different types of realms or different types of energies. That's the other thing too. And imagine like an encyclopedia, or the the library of the universe, right? There's infinite books upon infinite books. And so I don't know all the books, right? And I don't have access to all the books, or to all the sections. So you might have, for example, access to certain information or certain energy, right? That I may not be able to access. And so in this way, there's no archy for me, in my opinion. And from what I understand, that there's no archy around like, oh, like, you can't tap this and you. No, it's just that it's different, right? We can all access different things, and that's the beauty of it. That's how we can expand on our own like list of knowledge of books and things like this, right? By sharing, much how I'm doing here today. So with all of that, this is what it has been for me, right? Is even what I'm sharing with you, this understanding. I don't read books, and that's just the fact. I'm just being very honest with you. I have books here. um those are the only books, like, and I have very different ways of reading books, and that's something I'll go into in some other time, because I wanted to stay on topic as much as possible here. But I don't. All this information comes through, not all, but the majority comes through the channel. and it feels like a knowing. And sometimes I'll share things, right, that I'm saying with people, or I'm having a discussion about a topic, and I'll be talking about something, and that's my first time hearing it, but it's coming through me, right? But I'm saying it as if I already know it, and that's the part that can be confusing, especially like someone. I expressed this to someone, and they were like confused. They were like, wait, because then they try to logically understand it, and that's the part that gets tricky, because there is no logic around it, right? It's just it's a different way to experience life. It's a different way to engage with life. um you have the logic, the conscious, and the subconscious. So, and so when these things come through, I'll be expressing these things to you, and it's as if I know it, and I feel that confident and everything, and there's no thought, it just comes through. So as I'm sharing, as I know it, I'm also learning, which is in the conscious mind. I'm learning, but I'm actually already know the information. It's just being brought up to the conscious from the subconscious mind. So that is a little bit about my channel, right? And from that idea of the channel come many other things, not just like accessing all information or memories, but also the more I connect with myself, then the more that I'm starting to remember about what I spoke earlier when we all come to this planet, about the veil being very thin, right? The veil for me, it lifts sometimes really big, really, really just, and it's a little overwhelming, right? At times. And it just, for me, there's no randomness. Nothing just happens just by accident. Everything has its divine place, I believe, and everything has its purpose. Whether we are able to conceptualize that, whether we're able to understand that or see it, it's a different story. However, everything is connected, right? Everything is in motion and interacting with everything. So, um, so I lost my train of thought. So anyway, yeah. So that's that something important that I wanted to share. I wanted to share that with as well, because uh, I also receive. I see things. I see things like what some people might call spirits or entities or beings. And trust me, I've went through so much of this, where there was a point in my life, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, where I literally thought I was going crazy. Really, I was like, okay, I lost it, like officially. I've lost my marbles, and I went to go get checked out. I was mainly concerned, about sometimes if we have like a tumor, like a head tumor, you can hallucinate, and this is just it happens, right? The swelling creates the unbalancing of chemicals, or sometimes the neural paths not going all the way or going in different directions, which can create what we call hallucinations. But I have a whole other thing about that, which we're not going to get into now. Um, so I went to go check down, and they were just like, everything is fine, and I initially was around because I would see orbs, like little orbs, different colors, sometimes really bright. And then there were many other things that I was seeing, but I didn't express that. I didn't express that to the medical personnel, because I didn't, and I knew that they would send me to the psychology section, and I just wanted to. I felt fine psychologically, I felt good, like in tune, but I wanted to see if things were good in the brain. Um, so I did a bunch of tests. Everything came back normal. Everything came back good. There was nothing there, and so for me, that was back then. That was like, okay, I need to just like work with this, learn how to work with this, and accept it. And it took time. It didn't happen overnight. So especially, I would not say anything to people. I would not. I was seeing things. I was seeing things in people as well. I could see when people were like their auras. At first, I remember like different colors and different auras, um, energy. The idea of energy. I could see in people how um, they were radiating energy, and yeah, then that started to get more intense. Then I would see, like I said, beings. I was having meditations where they were extremely powerful, and I thought this was normal, but turns out it was not. But it's very much like what people experience when they engage in plant medicine or when they engage in psychedelics, things like this, out of body experiences, and then coming back from my meditation feeling nauseous, feeling like I just had a concussion and I was out, for a while. So there are many layers here, and I'll go more into detail about these things, I think, in breaking them down. But I just want to keep it kind of in the general story here first, and then go from there, because a lot of these things devote their own detail, like that I think it's important, their own time to share. So yeah, so along with this, it comes with many things, right? I have engaged with plant medicine. I've had ayahuasca, psilocybin. Um, I've worked with done bufo. I've worked with different plants. I've worked with different and all in ceremonial spaces, all minus bufo, I guess, and the mushrooms. Those are the only two that I did my own ceremonies for, with the psilocybin, and the bufo was another felicitator. But ayahuasca and all the other medicines that I've worked with, they were with indigenous people who are the guardians of these medicines and work with these medicines. And so, yeah, that was, I do have that as well, like that understanding of that realm. And nowadays, this is, after I've done many different studies with different people, different leaders from South America, indigenous leaders. Nowadays, I do believe that the plant medicine has helped as far as connecting myself, right? As far as like healing, um, as far I don't connect it to, oh, I saw these things, so now I see them without medicine. It's not about seeing things, right? For me, it's the idea of understanding. It's like a school, right? And these plant medicines, like they they're our bridge, right, to tapping into outside of the conscious, what we're talking, going more into the subconscious, and that's where our pain is. That's where trauma and ancestral traumas and things like this, as well as the interaction of everything that's in the universe and in our planet, which is energy, the universal language. So um yeah, it has definitely played a big role um into my path, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. But for me, it was mainly just, it's like I said, it's a study, like learning myself, and through myself I can learn about life, right? Because it's the awareness that allows us to perceive or to receive uh, perspective or understanding of life. And so for me, plant medicine has helped me a lot within the awareness of myself and how to work with these energies of the idea of traumas, of things that I had to heal, and the programming and stories and belief systems and who I am, and all these things, right? So I share these things with you because it's important, also because I want to be clear that for me, my story is not something that I just woke up one day and it just happened. It has been, it's been a journey. Now, it it's getting more intense. you know, this year 2024 has felt like 5 years into one, with the amount of experiences that I've had, changes in my life in so many ways, and that continues to happen year after year, where things become the changes become more drastic because I'm more open to change. Right, again, it's like my awareness continues to expand, and there's momentum of of um, of awareness of myself. So yeah, so I think I want to say that's what I want to say when it comes to that. I think I'll stop there for now. And uh, however, I also was having a lot of very powerful experiences before I engaged with plant medicine and my study with plant medicine and the indigenous people, and I think that's also really important to say, because I don't want to uh, say that because I engaged with plant medicine that this happened, because it's not that's not the truth, that's not real. um, it can, right? However, you don't have to drink ayahuasca, you don't have to engage with any of these plant medicines in order for you to connect with yourself, in order for you to heal, in order for you to see beyond the veil of the conscious mind and tap into your subconscious. And we see this throughout various different practices such as Buddhism, Hinduism, yoga, some aspects of religion, different types of religions, or the idea of religions, of practices of prayer, breath work and meditation, and so on and so forth. There are so many ways to connect and to heal. um, we are the medicine at the end of the day, and this is that's just we've had so many different humans that have walked on this planet to show us that we can heal with ourselves, right? That we have everything we need to heal. So yeah, so before plant medicine, I was already having, a lot of these experiences, and they were coming in super hot, very intense, and a lot of processes that I had to sit with myself and feeling different things, and at the time not really understanding what was happening, not understanding why I was feeling depressed, or why I was feeling down, or like awkward, like feeling weird, where it's like I don't know how to feel. This is like really strange. And I know, I'm aware of all the psychological things, depression, all. I just want to get that out there in case it's going through your mind, people's mind. I'm very aware of all these things, and again, there's there's space for those things. Okay, I'm not diminishing or dismissing those things, right, at all. But I'm speaking strictly here again from this perspective around energy, and how when we are evolving, when we are changing, right, on a psychological perspective, what's changing is also the neural paths. What's changing is the way we are engaging with our thoughts, with our mind, the way we are engaging with our emotions, our body, everything, and all of that is energy. And this is not woo woo stuff, this is just pure fact, right? So that's what they're called, neural paths. It's literally electricity. The brain, we know this, right? The brain produces the idea of electricity, the expression of electricity, um, down into the spine, to the nervous system, right? That allows for us to be here and experience life, right? So all of this is it's energy. So as you adjust, this is why I've learned, like, as I was healing, as I was tapping into more of myself, there were these moments where it was just weird, right? And it felt like depression, and it felt like all these different things, but what it was is just the unknown, right? It's like your body adjusting, and it's adjusting to something different. So not only is your body adjusting, but obviously the mind as well. And when the brain doesn't, the conscious mind doesn't have a file folder to pull from, meaning, the ego and things like this is like we base it on experience, right? Everything that we do, our judgment or our decision making is around our experience most of the time. So when we step into a new space, into a new experience that we don't have experience, this is where it can feel awkward. This is where it can feel like this uncomfortable feeling that can manifest in various different expressions. So that is the best way I can describe it, and how stepping into this has been for me. And I didn't know, but I trusted, and I was devoted to it. As I started doing this back in 2016 was when my quote unquote, I don't know, I say quote unquote because I don't know how I feel about this awakening, right? But it was when I was really starting to the idea of like awake from myself, like from just the day to day, and the things are just very much of things that I've been told, and start to explore myself and understand myself. So when that happened, I I yeah, it was very uncomfortable. I went through many processes before I had a sip of ayahuasca, before I worked with any other plant medicine or anything like that, on a ceremonial or on a healing um, setting, right? And I did a lot of work on my own. No therapy, things like that. Just myself, right? And I now know why I needed to go through all those things on my own, right? And we'll talk about that on another episode because we're already at 40 minutes. So I just want to give you guys like another version of my story, but different this time, being kind of like opening up to you what I'm going to be talking about more, right? Just like hitting the surface of the idea of connecting to the subconscious, with that being the idea of us connecting with ourselves, right? Which is right now on a global scale is something that there's a lot of emphasis on, which is amazing. It's beautiful. And so we are shifting. This is when you hear people talk about we're shifting to 5D and all of these things. But well, we have to go into 4D as well. And then what does that even mean, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about that as well, but not so much. More so focus on the fact that there are messages that I'm meant to share with you all. There are memories that I am recalling, that I'm remembering, that I have been remembering, that I would like to share with you. And also there are things that I'm being asked to share. There are things that I cannot share as well. It's interesting. Like there's like permissions, where it's like sometimes like I'd want to share something about someone that I see or I feel, and it's like, no, don't say that. It's because that person needs to go through that process, and that process is important rather than just giving someone something, you know. Um, and like, for example, I can see people's soul. Even with the idea of seeing, it's kind of hard to explain, but I can tell or I can sense. Let's just put it this way: if a soul is from this earth, or if a soul is from another planet, another universe, right? And or if it's from a different realm, right? And so I'll talk a little bit more about that as well on an episode that it deserves its own episode. So, but because I can see that, right? It doesn't mean that I need to share that with somebody. And so I had to learn what to say, what not to say. And thankfully it's not for me to decide. It's just, it's like a subtle, like, yes. When there's like the settle, like, no, don't say that. But then it's not just no. Sometimes it is, but most of the time I'm able to see also like why, right? Like why it's important for this person to explore that for themselves, to find that within themselves, because this is the path to thyself. And so there are things I can say that can help like spark something inside them to get them interested in themselves, right? Or like a little bit of like a hint. So those are some of the things that also come with the channel. These are just some of the things. There's a lot more, but I think I'll stop there. Yeah, because I can feel myself that I can just keep going and going and going. And I just want to open this, just give you a little bit of a taste of the things that I'm also going to be talking about here moving into 2025. And I'm really excited about it. And I feel good. I don't feel nervous. I don't feel any of these things. I've already come to terms with myself, accepted it, and it's time. And there's no expectations around any of this because it's not about me. It's for people. It's for you. It's for everyone that needs to hear this, and that it will be helpful. But this is just a little bit is going to be my experience, but more importantly, what's coming through the channel through my experiences, right? And how we all come together, and we unite, and we walk together this path because we're meant to walk together. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here and your support. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can put a comment on the comment below. You can put it down, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. But I hope you enjoyed this intro, kind of, and I look forward in sharing here shortly more with you all. Until next time.